so good. We're going straight into game 2.
All right.
I thought we were going to have I'll take it straight to game 2. Sure, bro. Let's catch up.
Yeah.
Let's catch our breath and let's go again. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like we have Holding Hands and Happiness facing off against the Lollipop Legends. I love the Rem icon. It's very, very cute. Coming out of game 1, Jace, right? We had many things happen.
I'm still in game 1, Shami.
You think it? Yeah. Do you think it could, be a sign of things to come as we prepare ourselves for this next draft?
The one thing I will say is that from my experience of being involved in the league games, is that definitely an earlier game focused draft, which I didn't expect from Moonshine, but they had that late game insurance. That's kind of common, I feel like, at this level. Teams want to get themselves together. They want to draft that late game inevitability, because even in a game like Deadlock, it can be really hard to end in team environments, because sometimes people do just randomly go off and die, but you can kind of lane assignment, you can play around it. You're going to be able to allocate your resources properly, and with a difference in skill level, people are going to make mistakes. As I said, Vixen was one of our higher ranked players in that lobby. They had a huge soul economy the whole game, every stage of the game. Vixen on the 7. Shami was like one of the most fed people in the lobby. And it still took them, as I said, it took them about 5 or 6 at-bats with that 7 ult to finally hit the storm cloud that would send them all packing, that would send them all home, and on that team bus away from the cursed apple. So,
I mean, looking forward, sights set clearly on the future here. I'm hoping to see a lot of learnings carried over from the game 1s into the game 2s, right? Because this is your second round match. A lot of these teams, or all of these teams, have had their opportunity to really break in their paces and, try and get an idea of what worked so well or didn't work so well in the previous matchup. Now,
I'm gonna have a look. I'm gonna see if I can pull it out the results quickly. I believe the heavy hitters one needs to be approved. I can probably just ask admin's result of that game whilst we wait for the bans. Sorry, this is silence right now as I'm just checking in, but silence is good. We can wait for both captains to be ready. Draft will start soon. That was some straight yapping for 45 minutes. I was not ready for the game to go on for that long. I have been told that Deadlock games end way sooner than that, and they normally do. But also the heavy hitters won, by the way.
That's the beauty of Deadlock.
Yeah, the heavy hitters won, which means that Lollipop Legends are 0-1 going into this game.
Okay.
Looking to even it up.
Yep. So with the draft setting itself in, I'm going to let you know what I'm sort of expecting given the current state of the meta, and then we can contrast and compare it to what these teams like to build or what these teams are really comfortable on. Because all things considered, this is a Phantom a Phantom lobby with some Eternus players mixed into it. So you're gonna have a little bit of a hint of meta, but a lot of comfort. Really prioritized early picks tend to be your silvers, tend to be your Apollos. You're going to put a lot of emphasis on your early game carries, and then you're going to transition based on what kind of flavor you're going for. An early Dynamo pickup, very traditional. You can see the Mina get picked up early as well. Potentially an M1 carry, although those are starting to fall a little bit by the wayside ever since that big rebalancing where gun scaling fell off and spirit scaling came up quite a bit. Now we have the bans already. It's going to be a Mo and Krill ban from Holding Hands and Happiness. And Lollipop Legends respond with a Bebop.
The Lash is always a bold one. Again, it's a big team fighter. And that accursed Doorman. We talk about strong team fighters. We talk about last game, how I said you want individual pick potential. If you've got someone, for example, like the 7, that's just an overwhelming threat, or the Viper, well, send them to the Baroness for a couple of seconds. See how you team fight then. Bebop band, Mo and Crow band. Again, decently basic. It's a pick character gone from Lollipop. It's a team fight character gone from Holding Hands and Happiness. As the Lash comes in. Lash versus Apollo Doorman. I'm not actually sure of the players on these teams and their specific picks. I don't think I can accurately call anything here, Shami. But Doorman and Apollo, I think, is unorthodox, I would say. I wasn't. Is it? What is it? I wasn't expecting it. That's all I'm going to say. I think for a 1-2 slam, that's surprising for me.
Yeah, what I do want to say is Lash has kind of found a bit of a new life in the current meta. He is primarily being played as an M1 carry, so he's going to build a lot of gun items, he's going to build Siphon Life, and his entire game plan is just to loom in the sky as a helicopter and never really crash down on you. And then he also just happens to have a really strong team fighting ultimates that if things repeat themselves, and it's like the last game where we didn't really see any knockdowns, it's still going to be really impactful. And then you have the Doorman Apollo combo where Doorman has two splits, two ways that you can go. You can either do number one, and you can play Kidnap Doorman with Cheat Death and Mystic Expansion and an Echo Shard and some knockdown, and you're able to kidnap people, put them under your walker, and keep them stunned there while they die to natural causes. And then the other one is his bells do a ton of damage right now. They're very highly tuned, and a lot of people aren't picking up on it. So that is a little bit of a secret hidden technology that may or may not be starting to come a little bit to light, as you know, that's probably the way that the devs intended him to be played.
It's as Yoshi intended, it's as Notch intended, it's as Gaben intended. So Notch is Minecraft, Gaben is the based one. It's as Yoshi intended. Mina picked up. We've got a little bit of late game carry, as you said. That Nox Nostra is so strong. It's a real menace in the team fights, isn't it? I forget exactly how it works off the top of my head. Nox Nostra, of course, being Mina's ultimate, being able to apply. Is it percentage max health bleed? Nox Nostra? No, it's
not bleed, but it's a ton of damage. Yeah, and a silence.
Yes. That's it. So there's so many characters. Admittedly, I should have done a bit more of my reading, but I've been so busy helping with the tournament, and also, admittedly, taking a bit of a break personally before playing. One thing I do know is that I'm sure Shiv is still very strong. This character is just, I don't know, man. Like we saw how tanky Apollo and Mo and Krill were last game. I expect Shiv to be absolutely the same.
Yeah, he's going to be an absolute menace to have to deal with. You have to buy Dispel Magics against him, and especially pair it up with the Mirage. I feel like Dispel Magic is going to be the number one hottest trending item in this matchup to face off against it, because the Scarabs, the Marks, the Knives, you're going to be bleeding out a ton of health. And looking into the second rounds of bans, we have a Silver Band coming out from Holden Hands and Happiness, HH&H. And Lollipop Legends choose to take the Pocket off the board. So typically expected, right? These bans are very by the book. You want to take away any, high damage threats that can really threaten your team comp and your order. Jace, looking at these first three for both of these sides, who do you feel a little bit more comfortable on?
I think I would say the Apollo Mina Doorman just seems like, even in the most simplest terms, these characters were released later. Now we're in very early stage of Deadlock, right? But I really like the utility and the team fighting that Mina and Doorman can give, with the early game pressure that Doorman can have, and we know Apollo brings, as we've just seen it. Dynamo, again, is just something that threatens to end a team fight with a wombo combo. I'm interested to see what Holding Hands and Happiness 4 and 5 here. Warden, again, it's another kind of tanky combo. Anti-heal, really good for Apollo this game. Anti-heal, really good for Dynamo this game. Oh, the paradox. I love it. This is a classic. It feels weird to say a classic when it's still in an alpha, but, it is a classic.
Yeah. I mean, it's been an alpha, and people have been playing competitively for a year plus now. I think it's fair to say that it's classic at this point. And then talking about classics, you have, the blue man, John Deadlock himself, Abrams, get locked in for Lollipop Legends. You follow that up with a 7 to wrap your comp up, and then Holding Hands picks up that Ivy. So now that we found ourselves with the comps concluded, I gotta say, man, I like where both of them are going. I do have a little bit of personal bias. I think that Holding Hands and Happiness have a more convincing all-around team comp. You have so many multifaceted carries. You have some supportive capability as well. The Shiv just does so much to mess you up. And Lollipop Legends, they do have a really strong one as well. There's not that much of a disparity compared to Game 1, but I do think they might have some issues if the Doorman is not able to perform to that same caliber that you can expect.
Now, it's important to mention that literally just off the top of my dome, we really should have got a screenshot of the drafts. Off the top of my dome, I believe Lollipop Legends should be favoured. But if you look at all 12 players, 6v6 based, if you look at all 12 players, I believe Blackjack is the one that's above the curve. We've got a couple of, I think, Border, Don Wadler, Satby, and Satby are at our lower end of the scale. But even then, I think they're like low Oracle, maybe. So they're sort of in like the low end of the mid ranks. But in this tournament, that's the lower end of the low ranks. As I said, we spiked really, really high. But I believe Cranberry and Blackjack, particularly Blackjack, I'm pretty sure, went for a lot of money in the auction as one of our higher Eternity players. I think they're like Eternity 4, or at least in the middle of Eternity. So I'm interested to see for Lollipop Legends, what are they on? And it's probably 7 or Mina, I imagine. Because I'd imagine you want them on the hyper carry, even if they got to that level, that SR, that skill bracket, that ELO, there we go, not playing hard carries. You'd think by just naturally being in that higher tier, you should be able to sort of punch down on the carries and really exert yourself, you know? Like it's going to be harder. It's going to be harder to carry in a game that's below your elo on like Dynamo than it is on 7, right? Even if you play Dynamo more, I would imagine.
Yeah, but I'm going to be honest with you, man. I think that Deadlock is the kind of game where you can play really different stuff and you can carry on a lot of different options, especially when we're thinking about the skill disparity between Eternus and between Phantom. We're talking about top 20% of the player base versus the top 3, and that goes all the way down to like top 1% if you're in Eternus. Yeah, I think it's 2 and above.
It's massive, yeah.
So you're going to be able to do a significant amount of damage, and whether it's the 7, whether it's Mina, whether it's the Apollo or the Doorman, the way you move, the way you take fights, a lot of that is going to come into effect, and it's going to be really, really impactful. Now, as we prepare ourselves, right, you told me you have a bias towards Lollipop Legends. How do you think the early game is going to play out here? Do you think that they're going to be the ones to take it, or do you think Holding Hands are going to be able to hold their way through it?
Well, I'm not quite sure about how the teams exactly will match up, and also the lane matchups is a key one, because obviously in, you know, Overwatch, it's you're all 6v6 at the same time, whereas as we saw last game, we saw Lilith get such an early lead in their lane because I think the SR, the ELO, was definitely a big gap. So I'm interested to see lane assignments and combos. One thing I do mention, though, is that you're absolutely right. Deadlock, in a way, is the most woke game, because I think literally the best definition of Deadlock is non-binary. And that's why it's the most woke game. Because you're absolutely right. Support in this game is not... It can be characters you pick, but you can play full support Doorman, you can play full AP Doorman, you can play full Spirit Doorman, you can play full Gun Doorman if you want, because it's about the items that you buy. All these characters have some utility, and for example, Ivy can be played 3 ways, Paradox can be played, to be honest, like 2 ways, Shiv can be played 2 ways, Mirage can be played maybe 3 ways, you know? It's about where you spec the build. All these characters are so diverse that you don't just see, you know, you don't just see an Ivy, you don't just see a Doorman and think, okay, they're going to build, like, you don't just see an Ivy, for example, and you don't think they're going to build extra reduced cooldown, Spirit Surge, Mystic Burst. I'm trying to rip off items from my old Ivy build. You know what I mean? They're not just going to build Spirit instantly. It's not linear, as I said. It's not binary. It's non-binary. And that's cool. Because whilst I do stand by that it's probably easier to carry a game on 7 than it is on Dynamo, doesn't mean you can't go full AP, full Spirit Dynamo and just nuke someone with your Singularity, right?
Yep. Absolutely, right. I think there's a lot of potential, and the potential is going to be realized because we have the game ready As we hop in here with these lane assignments, I'm going to go left to right. We got a Mina and Apollo facing off against a Shiv and a Warden. It's going to be a pretty volatile lane there. Two really strong carries on Lollipop Legends. We're ideally looking for a little bit of early bloodshed. We look over on the right-hand lane. We've got an Ivy and a Mirage running up against a 7 and a Dynamo. I'm going to try and keep things as stable as possible. And in the mid lane, where we were expecting the most volatility, you have a Doorman Abrams running up against a Lash Paradox. A lot of firepower to fight back with. Jace, which lane do you want to highlight here?
For me, I'm actually looking at Cranberry and Blackjack for the Hidden King for the side of Lollipop Legends, because that's going to be their key matchup. That's the one that's going to have to get ahead. They almost have to use Blackjack's early game threat on that Apollo to snowball Cranberry and get them, almost build them into a secondary carry. So when they fall off, their work there is done. They can get into their bed and go home, you know? On the flip side, I'm really looking at the Paradox and the mid lane. I'm looking at the Mirage and the Shiv. They're going to have to affect the map. They're going to have to go side lane. They're going to have to quell the bleeding that is likely to happen on the side lanes. And we're going to have to go from there. Important to mention that Dong is definitely a heavy Abrams player, and they managed to get their comfort pick, which is going to be a huge boon for Lollipop Legends, because anytime you've got a player that's slightly below the elo curve, you know, isn't towards that Phantom Eternity level, getting your lower elo players on a comfort pick is actually way more important sometimes than getting your more experienced higher elo players on said pick as well. Don's played a lot of Deadlock and a lot of MOBA, so I'm sure they'll know what to do in this situation, and they'll be happy to go in and die, you know? They'll be happy to go in for the front line. So far, though, it's kind of even, right? Like, I don't think this early game will be as explosive as we saw the last one.
Well, I wouldn't count your chickens before they've hatched, because there is a lot of potential here for things to explode. The last matchup, we did have some really strong engagements, as you mentioned, from Silver, but a lot of Silver here on the board. We are looking towards Blackjack to see if he can make some of these big plays happen. Now, as we continue to inch our way forward, right, 2 minutes has already passed, so you've already got your boxes up, you've got your tier 1s, and now you're really setting your sights here on two things. In 3 minutes 30, you've got your tier 1s respawning, so both of these teams are going to go back to them. And then after that, you've got 5 minutes, and that's going to be your bridge buffs. That's going to be your next big opportunity here to fight. And being ahead of the curve is going to matter the most when it comes to that big breakpoints. Now, we're not really seeing a sole lead yet, because it is incredibly hard to establish one this early on in the game, unless you're very, very adept at running these boxes and running really deep box routes.
Yeah, we can already see, actually, there's a little bit of a growing bleed on that the Ivy Paradox lane, right? I believe it's Ivy Paradox laning against 7 and Dynamo. We're already seeing a lead slowly grow there. Will it bleed out? Will they be able to secure kills? That's a pressure point on the map for Holding Hands and Happiness. They definitely have that 7 and that Dynamo ping back. Remember, they are scaling, but you know, scaling is relative. Scaling is not necessarily guaranteed, and scaling can be hard nullified. Right now, I think the duo of Mr. Matt Berger and Quam, actually it's Quam, yeah, it's Quam, of Ivy and Paradox are doing a really good job at, well, just denying resources, right? That's what it's about. You can actually deny souls in this game from the enemy team, which is massive. You can't really like do that in League, right? Like, you can physically stop them from farming.
All right, Jace, this is the big moment. This is the big timer. Your 4 minute 30 waves have descended upon us. So as soon as you clear those, everybody is going to be making a mad dash towards those buffs, or to fight your opponents. See if you can chunk them out before things get to the buff platforms. We see the Shiv already dropping down to extremely low HP. It seems like they're able to escape with their lives, but that puts Holding Hands at a significant disadvantage. We see here on the buff of platform, there is a large skirmish. It's going to be a parry here onto the doorman, able to escape with his life thanks to a nifty door. But the buff does find its way over to Holding Hands and Happiness on the right-hand side, and on the left hand, Blackjack was able to get it, give himself a really strong power spike. See here, the Abrams getting chased around. Those marks hurt a ton, and a parry that is mistimed means that he's going to be the first blood death with all those juicy extra souls going over to Gallo.
Yeah, Gallo gets him, down they go. The lash secures one. It's not the worst bleed in the world, right? Like, you're going to be coming up to your ultimate soon for the side of Don Radler. Dove guys as well, so that's a double for the lash, and they definitely need it. Reminds me a lot of Doomfist. Could be a revenge kill, actually. Oh my god, look how low the Paradox gets. Do they 1 HP? Do they actually manage to find it? It could be. There's Blackjack on the other side of the map. Gets the cross map, as you said, got the buff. Huge for the side of Lollipop Legends. It looks like Paradox actually got out with their life as well, so a legal kill 1 and out. We might not be done here though, there might be more kills. Blackjack gets another one onto the side of the Shiv. So Lollipop Legends, as I thought so, they're kind of bleeding on one side of the map, but on the other side, the sort of more top side, on our left side, I forget the lane names off the top of my head, but on Blackjack's lane, doing very well. On the side where Holding Hands and Happiness have got Matt Berger, aka Khan J, aka the Paradox, they're doing well there. So it swings and roundabouts. It's the natural MOBA seesaw.
Yeah, we see here a big tower dive come through from this Mirage. 3 stacks already built up onto the 7. Is not going to be able to explode them to do enough damage, but the Dynamo here is next in sights. The 7 is managing to survive at 1 HP. You lose the Ivy. Now the Singularity is going to lock him in place. The 7 is able to do a ton of damage, but the parry doesn't connect. There's going to be 89 HP ticking up slowly. There's going to be a parry here onto Ash. The melee is going to do so much good, but he doesn't commit to the kill. That's the big cardinal sin, and the death falls upon him. That's going to be a really good trade for the Dynamo player.
Yeah, Ash just about has their blushes spared. I thought that Mr. Shabungus there on the Mirage had just about hit the outplay of the century with the melee parry as well. The Dynamo literally like 50 singular HP, 50 HP. Yep. That's nothing in this game. You know, you get that from 1 minion shot almost. Almost. As we see the looks like the early Titanic mag coming in for Quam here on the Ivy. Yep. Really looking to help Waves for their Mirage, by the looks of it.
Yep. What I want to look at, though, is on the left side of the map, we see Gallo getting dove under their own tower.
I missed that.
His life. This really is not a happy fit. And then you see the fight continuing to drag itself out. And Holding Hands are trying to overextend themselves. They're trying to find a pick here on this left side. They're not able to lock down that Dynamo for long enough before he is able to escape. Now we see the Mirage, though, already trying to go in even deeper. The Doorman surviving barely from an engagement with the Lash, the handsome Lash, if you will. And we also see the tower getting removed from play. Lollipop Legends are coming across ahead on most sides of the map here.
There's Holding Hands and Happiness. They lose the Guardian rights. They've got to retreat into their own jungle for now. Strawberry, again, one of the higher ranked players on this team in this lobby, gets the pick onto the Shiv. That's going to be a nightmarish character to deal with late game. Again, singular digits. They might actually just die to the clamp here. Yeah, they do. Satby gets the trade. A player we've not seen in these tournaments in a long time. So nice to see them back on the Warden if they get their kill. Unfortunately, they're traded out. We talked about Blackjack being one of the higher SR players in this tournament. They're looking to use that experience, use those mechanics, use that knowledge gap to snowball, and they are right now. It's 9 minutes 20 on the clock. They're the richest person in the lobby. They've got basically double the souls of Try here on the Shiv, and they're really making use of it. That's a Walker, I think, lost. Another one lost for Holding Hands and Happiness, but the souls, it's basically dead even, especially when you consider that these tier 1s for Lollipop Legends are yet to fall.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive here, actually, how Holding Hands and Happiness are able to claim 2 Guardians here on the map despite being behind. And that soul injection is continuing to keep them in this, especially since they're able to actually fend Lollipop Legends away. You know, we see Slowbungus gets knocked down to 1 HP behind the shop and ends up peeking at an inopportune moment, not able to use the TP, the Wandering Traveler, to get away. It is going to let them, though, TP here back into the spawn, as we have the Urn spawn, and Holding Hands are able to claim it first. And
Great flying.
The airdrop urn still works? I thought this was patched out of the game a while ago. This is great. Well, I mean, you're not flying too fast. Your speed is locked while you're carrying the urn. But this helps you avoid a lot of that pesky parkour, and especially, you're not able to get meleeed away from it.
Yeah, absolutely. They can just literally airdrop them in with a couple of dashes and boom. Easy soul secure for Holding Hands. They play the objective and they're rewarded. Don Waddler doesn't like what he sees on the Abrams, though. The mystery has been solved. It's a double stun, huge from the Abrams. They might trade their life for it, Shami, but it might be all that they need. It's a Death Slam that comes in. One good stun deserves another. Jacob Lash has entered the fray, and let's see what our favourite narcissist can do, because he's on critical HB. Ash and Blackjack, by the way, look how much advantage they've got econ-wise. Really thriving in this game for Lollipop Legends, and they're both alive and ready in this fight. Not anymore. Goodbye, Scientist. Holding Hands in happiness. Like, the damn souls in this fight, right? Like, I'm pretty sure Ash was here, Don was here, Border, like, Dove was here as well. They had the soul econ advantage there, but the combo just didn't hit. There was no follow-up on the Abrams engage.
We're continuing to see here some... I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. It's just being unable to close out that kill. You can't layer... you're not layering your CC effectively, which means that your opponents are just going to start to slip away. And on the left side of the map, we even see how much damage is being done there, just, shoving your waves in for Lollipop Legends and forcing members of Holding Hands to respond to it. Now, we've entered a stage at the game here where your carries... They want to set themselves free on the jungle. They want to farm up. They want to scale towards their early items. And they're going to be able to do that with a relative amount of peace, especially considering how many camps are available and the fact that we're 3 minutes away from the next major objective drop.
Yeah, so currently, I think actually, if you look at soul distribution for both of these sides, I think it's honestly okay. Like, you're seeing it, again, a bit more spread out for Holding Hands, whereas Lollipop have got a lot invested into Blackjack, a lot invested into Cranberry, and then a decent amount as well also into Ash. And I think Ash has just been a part of the action, and that's why she's been able to get so much success on this Dynamo so far. I'm not sure that's what you want going into the late game. I mean, of course, one fed member is better than no fed members, right? But if you're thinking about where you want those souls, ideally you do want them on Border. You probably want a bit more on Don, maybe a couple on Cran as well. But I don't think... The point I'm trying to make, actually, Shami, is that these souls on this Dynamo isn't at the detriment of Lollipop Legends. There we go, finally figured it out. Finally worded it correctly. Fucking hell.
I do agree with that sentiment. I do definitely think that the soul allocation is a strong point here, and not having Border being that farmed out, given that they're on a 7, this is still in the early game, so you have plenty of time to fix this up. And we're talking about it a lot, but it's a difference of 2k souls, a difference of 3k souls. You're going to be able to make up for it. Sorry, you were going to say?
As I say, I think it's decently big, but as the game goes on, you can close that pretty easily, right?
Yeah. Now, as we continue to set our sights here, a lot of that time, a lot of that farming time that we mentioned a little while ago has been burning up, and you see here an engage happening inside the middle lane. You see the Abrams get tossed around and engage on Dongwaggler, ends up dying, and otherwhere we see a fight happening between this Warden and the Mina. Nox Nostra gets popped right in front of their face. There's not really much room to dodge it, as you still are contending with the Love Bites cooldown. The right comes in, and Warden falls. Lollipop Legends, they may have lost 2 members on the other side of the map, but this Mina doesn't care. She's able to secure kills of her own. A double parry?
There's no way. I think that Dove is absolutely dead here. Oh my god, they sent one. Nah, no way. There's absolutely no chance in hell. There we go. Shabun just gets Dove. Is this trades going on all over the map? We're on Wall Street. We're not on the Cursed Apple. We're not out on the streets of New York. We're at Wall Street. What is going on? Trading absolutely everywhere. And you saw Don go for the engage, right? That is something they're going to do on the Abrams. They're going to want to send it. They got to wait for backup. I think they can be a bit slower this game. Make sure that they can get the... make sure they can get the guaranteed follow-up of Blackjack or Cranberry. As, again, Blackjack currently on spree, but not got the most souls in the game. That goes over to Cranberry, sorry. Blackjack with the killing spree. Cranberry with the most souls. as now Lollipop Legends look to transition into the mid game. They do have a nice little soul lead, particularly on the important carries. As this Apollo really looking heavily aggressively for skirmishes here is what I'm noticing so far. Blackjack is going in on any kind of trigger. They are just sending it, man.
Yeah, you saw how holding hands, they really overplayed a little bit. Try got extremely greedy for the Walker, and as a result, Lollipop Legends had an opportunity to contest this urn. Ultimately, it's not going to pay off for them. A Singularity combination with the Nox Nostra. This Warden had no way to live through this engagement, and now you see on the other side of the map,
they just bleed
really
the Walker?
Strong Walker take. Yeah, you just take it right away. Early flex slot, early cash injection here for the Mina. She doesn't quite get solo souls from the Walker, but it's still going to help propel her further. The urn gets picked up here for Lollipop, stolen away, but is ultimately forced to be dropped. As, you know, this
Tran is
doing being an absolute nuisance.
Tran is doing work on this side lane as well, by the way. I thought that first use of that Nox Nostra was solo onto Sappy. I thought, okay, there might be an angle to actually punish that. It's a big portion of Mina's damage, right? That ultimate. But, like, I mean, no, like, look at how chilled Cranberry is. Like, is Cranberry actually taking damage here? Yeah, they are. But so much bleeding, so much restore, that I think they might even be okay in this 1v2. Like, Cranberry's so fed now that this is the thing against these drain tanks in Deadlock, in any game. Like, once a drain tank is ahead and they're fed, you see them down to 400 HP, they land one cooldown because you don't quite manage to kill them in time, and instantly it's 500 HP, their HP bar's at 50%, and they're absolutely piss chilling. They go for the punish on Cranberry, they don't get it, they might still not get it, which is even more of a punish. It could be bad to worse for Holding Hands and Happiness, as they're just basically feeding Cranberry. The vampire is feasting right now. That is love bites everywhere.
Yeah, continuing to really lead things on a rampage there. That entire engagement there in the shop proves why a lot of people, when Mina first came out, viewed her as some sort of like a long-range character, but when you're up in her face, when she's able to do damage to you, that is one of the scariest places you can be in this game, and the debuff remover especially, saving her life there from the Mirage who was greeting, trying to get a 4-stack pop on her. You should have just taken your win and executed her right there on the spot. Now, both of these teams, for the longest while, were neck and neck. We saw Lollipop Legends pull ahead a little bit in the early game, but Holding Hands was able to stay very close behind them. But now with the recent sequence of events, you see a 14k soul lead find its way over to this orange team, favoring the Hidden King. And this is going to be a really big contention point, especially considering the next urn will be a comeback one at this pace. And my oh my, where has the time gone? We're approaching 20 minutes. This is, you know, things are starting to heat up. Respawn timers are starting to get long. Permanent damage is going to be done to these teams off the back of these team fights.
Yes. Speaking of permanent damage, that's a lot of damage going on onto Shabunjas here. Blackjack continuing to snowball, as we said, the impact player that we expected from Lollipop Legends. Shami, again, it's like a blink and you'll miss it. Like, this is something I'm going to need to get used to, because it happened a lot in League as well for me, like when I was first starting out, and Deadlock is like 10x faster. I just blinked and all of a sudden we're at a 12k soul lead. We might even get more. Singularity is available for the side of Ash, who's been terrific this game with those ultimates. Now, you're not quite at mid-boss elo, mid-boss timing, sorry, but you're not close. You're not that bad. Flawless advance. Nox Nostra also popped. That's another kill. Don Wadler cleans up too with the help of the whole team, and they can't quite get a mid-boss on spawn, but I tell you what, this Walker is dead on my screen.
Yeah, those are the clean, decisive fights you want to take as Lollipop Legends. You go in there, it's a bit of a skirmish at first, but you're able to walk away with 4 kills for nothing traded back, and now you set your sights here on this Walker. It's going to have extra resists, thanks to all the defenders nearby, but that's going to mean little to nothing, since you're able to kill those people who are just sitting here under their Walker and, you know, trying to defend it. You see a lot of damage come out, but with the ults expended earlier, it's looking like it's going to be a bit more of a defensive play. They're going to have to settle for, you know, half of its health bar.
And that's fine. They can settle when they're so far ahead. As I said, I talked about it in the pre-game for game 1. Farm backwards. You've taken resources for yourself, now take the enemy's resources. It's a swing. You're up 400, they're denied 400. It's like an 800 difference, and it really matters. And it's how soul leads like this are able to be accrued. And with this Walkers, is it more resistances? I need to clarify, actually. More resistances when the enemy team are if you're attacking an enemy walker, is it more resistances based on your guys or based on how many of the opposing team are defending it? Which one gives it the more resistances? Is it 100% enemy team showing up?
So with the way that LOC is and how intricate a lot of the systems are, I'm going to preface this with I'm not 100% sure, but what I do know for sure,
yeah, of course.
What I do know for sure is your defending team, the walker will give you extra resists. Which is why when we put a lot of emphasis on defending, you want to fight under your walker because it will buff you. And then there's probably also some element of anti-death ball protection where the walker itself is going to be tankier. The more enemies there are around it, the more people shooting it because you want to disincentivize that. Yep.
Yeah. That's the case in every MOBA, right? Like, they just, particularly in sort of in the lower levels where people's macro isn't good, it's never mind speaking of macro, that might be a perfect ultimate. It's been swapped away. The Singularity hit like 4 people. There's a fight literally in a spawn room. By the looks of it, such a tight enclosed space for this objective, for this brawl. The Soul Orb is literally captured in the background, as you can see. Actually, no, it got returned, sorry. But there's so much going on my screen, I'll be honest. Wait a minute.
And you see the escape there from the Mina. Cranberry able to recognize a bad fight when they see one. The Itani Losan, though, able to find the kill onto Quam. And Lollipop Legends don't know when to back out of this fight. They're going to continue going in deeper and harder than they were before. You see the trap able to stun this Mina in place, ripe her up for damage, and Cranberry ends up getting cut down, and that's your comeback mechanic at play. 60-second respawn timer. That is a long wait for one of your premier characters.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the premier character, I think, at this point, right? Like, definitely in terms of the combination of your experience, a lot on Border's shoulders now alongside Blackjack to try and not fall over, try and give that pressure. But absolutely right, like, particularly a frustrating part of MOBAs sometimes is that you can just almost get like a quote-unquote goon squad. You get like a mafia squad of members that just go around and demolish towers at a time, and the macro isn't quite there to respond to it. So that anti-death balling measure coming in there. We're getting a face-off between 2 tanks. It's going to be a tickle fest, and Try doesn't even bother engaging with it. They've got their sights set on something bigger. So should Lollipop Legends, because they've built a decent soul lead here, and I assume they're going to be looking for a mid-boss, because yet again, once that Singularity is back up, once that Stormcloud is there, once the Baroness is well and truly open and ready for more guests, Nox Nostra also back up, Lollipop Legends, they've got quite the comp for a boss fight. What do you think?
I think there's a lot of potential here once you do have those catalysts for a fight, when you have a reason to engage with your opponents. But one of the weaknesses of Lollipop Legends is they don't have a pick character, they don't have a Bebop, they don't have a Monocro who's able to lock people down. The closest they have is Doorman, who is, yes, good, but doesn't quite fulfill that niche. Meanwhile, Holding Hands, they have that paradox, they have the swap, and they have the ability to catch opponents off guard. Now we see already a bit of an over-engagement there. You have this Mirage that is trying to escape from Lollipop's side of the map, and it does look like they're able to make their way scot-free. On the right side of the map, we have a bit of a skirmish between this Warden and the Mina, but all's well that ends well, and both of these teams walk away fully alive.
We're getting a lot of A-ramming going on right now. Both of these teams really eager to fight on mid. One thing I want to see is when the fly is up for Quam is to take someone else on the side lane or try and clear a side lane themselves. Well, escort someone onto the side lane, escort a carry onto the side lane, and then fly them into the fight if they need. Sometimes arriving late in a fight is better than not arriving at all or arriving too early, because all the buttons, those big skills from the enemy team are going to be on cooldown. Those ultimates are gone. They can't be used on you. So showing up late sometimes when the CDs are down and the well is dry is better than showing up on time. And also, of course, not only do you get the added resources, like not even included the added resources of farming the side waves and then joining the fight to potentially get any kills. Ivy is a freak on the side lanes. She's so good at it, so good. And I want to see it be done more for Holding Hands and Happiness here. As we get a quick look at the KDAs, very much in the hands of Blackjack and Cranberry this game. All their kills on those carries.
And that's exactly where you want to be. You want to have all your kills on your, hyper early game characters. You would potentially like to have a little bit more on border, but they've been really hard at work in this jungle farming up. We have the Urn respawn on the right-hand side. Holding Hands are showing up in really significant numbers. And yes, you have an Apollo Mina here to try and contest it for Lollipop, but you're fighting 2v4, you're fighting 2v5 at this point. It's a little bit of a tall order here to try and contest with. You do see this Ivy get left behind and get popped really fast into this fight.
They got deleted, yeah. That is a not tanky Ivy. They are falling behind in terms of souls, not hit 20k yet, and we're at 25 minutes. Lollipop Legends, again, sort of abusing the example of when you're playing a scaler and you're winning anyway, you can just let them scale. Like, we've not really seen too much border this game because they're just farming sideways. Eventually, they're going to show up with a really strong build and they're going to hit one Storm Cloud, and that's all that they need. This is one of their lesser experienced players. Not quite lesser elo, I think they're still decent, but not one of our strongest elo players. So speaking of,
Singularity catches two members, able to hold them in place, but there's not enough damage in the follow-up. You send Gordon into the Baroness through his last stand. He's not able to escape, and he gets popped inside. You're picking up the Urn. If you're Lollipop Legends, you're able to dunk it in scot-free. And that is one of the major breakthroughs here you're looking for. You're trying to follow up further. The Shiv has barreled in towards his own demise. The Itanilo-san is able to secure his fate. Now, Lollipop Legends, Urn in their back pockets, should be facing this mid-boss here, looking to pick up a tasty treat.
You would think so, right? Like, surely just go straight down to the mid-boss. Let's see if anyone's making the comms for Lollipop Legends, because that is, fair enough, you've expended your resources, but Holding Hands are so down, and you know that your mid-boss speed should be pretty decently quick, particularly with everyone being available. And I said it, like, Border on 29k, Cranberry on 33, like, Blackjack is slowly starting to fall off, but they're not overtaking resources. Like, they're allowing the later game carries to come into the late game. As we hit 27 minutes, there's the rejuve. There's the important members it's on. And as you said, it's a huge economic advantage to continue Snowball, because yet again, the lead has continued to grow, and it's been growing ever since like minute 10 for Lollipop Legends. We're now at basically a 30k soul lead, and that is absolutely massive. This just means that realistically, our Ivy and our Paradox on the other side, they're just utility characters at this point. You're looking at their base kits and their like support builds. They are going to be very, very hard done by in terms of contributing meaningful damage in this game.
Yep, now Jace, looking with this rejuve, having that 3-minute timer ahead of us, Lollipop Legends have a lot of runway that they're able to use. There are still 2 walkers up for Holding Hands and Happiness. You have the Urn that's about to respawn in 2 minutes. You're able to claim that as a sweet treat after your main meal of those walkers. You just got to choose, right? What do we want to attack first? Where do you think Lollipop Legends are going to take this next?
I would say that Lollipop Legends, based on the aggressive gameplay they've been looking at, they're coming up on ultimates. I think they could potentially go mid into this right-hand lane, into this sort of literally where the Mirage is. Right, actually, no, sorry, where the Mina is right now. Our Mirage is on the right side lane. I'm high. No, I'm not high. I'm completely sober. But yes, this is the water they should be targeting. They push mid, then they overload a side lane. You can just play the numbers game if you're Lollipop Legends. When you're this far ahead, you can look at the numbers. You can count the players on your team. You can count the players on the enemy team. If it's an equal or positive number, that's instant winning, and you can actually just force the fight. Holding Hands after overload to combat the massive econ advantage. And when they overload, you just win elsewhere on the map for free. There we go.
Yep. I'm a little bit shocked, to be honest with you, Jason, just how much it took to kill that Mirage here. He's really slippery with those Dust Devils.
Yeah,
I didn't quite catch his build, but I've seen some shenanigans going around where you max your Dust Devil, you get Echo Shard, and you get 4 of them in a row. Not be surprised to find out that's what happened there.
Yeah, probably.
You know. But when we look at the positioning,
to be a soldier.
Yeah, when we look at the positioning of Lollipop Legends here, it does perplex me a little bit, right? You've wasted so much time chasing that Mirage down that you haven't really been able to set your sights on any of these walkers, and we already find ourselves at that 30-minute mark where that sweet treat in the Urn should have come after you get some big team fight wins elsewhere. Instead, we're just having dessert for dinner.
Yeah, we're very much seeing these teams not not eat their vegetables is a core MOBA concept, right? Like, you have to push your waves. You have to do your waves first, then you can do other stuff. As we said last game with 47 minutes, because they wanted to deathmatch, instead of just going split lanes and trying to play for objectives to force the fight, rather than the other way around. They were trying to force the fight and then get the objective. When the objective forced the fight, it's the other way around is what most people think. Waves and objectives are everything in this game. There's so much of them on the map. The Holding Hands and Happiness, though, they can't really respond to this urn. I think they should just be free if they do decide to fight over it. I mean, what's the win con? Like a 5-man death slam from right on the top of the roof of Golo, so you just hit the most massive wombo combo ever. Like,
Singularity catches 3. He's not going to be able to find a follow-up on it, though, and Ash is the one that ends up burning their first Rejuvenator. We have a Death Slam coming through, picks up 2 members of the Lollipop Legends. And they are able to find the securing kill there onto Ash. The urn does get deposited in favor of the Lollipops. But if you close your eyes and you look at what the kills here, you wouldn't be able to tell. It's going to be 2 kills. It's going to be 3 kills here for Border. Able to salvage the team fight that was going very wrong. And now Lollipop Legends are finally going to have an opportunity here to make some work on these objectives.
Oh, it's a 7 classic, right? Like, Border's doing so well as like the tertiary carry in this game, and it's exactly what you want. As I said, Border late round auction pickup, definitely not expected to do the heavy lifting, but can still contribute because, well, that's how it is. Like, you've had technically, like, they lost lane, right? You know, they lost lane, but of course they're gonna lose lane. They're on 7, right? Ash was able to roam as well, so they sort of sacrificed that early. Border, whilst their team winning, able to farm up, able to contribute in these last couple of fights, hit massive storm clouds, and it's really accelerating Lollipop Legends towards the patron now.
Massive
fast
damage there onto that Paradox. That's just the damage that a Fed Mina can do. She's already at 44,000 souls. Yeah, she is fully fed, fully online. A Siphon Bullets get picked up too. She's going to be pretty tanky too after this, might I add. Lollipop Legends are going to have to look to convert this a little bit further. Jace, where do you think they've set their sights on next?
I think, realistically, now that you're so far ahead and this Mina is borderline unkillable, as I said, I think you continue to just do your job, push mid, focus on a side lane, and then just go from there. It looks like they potentially still want to get this Walker rather than going for the base Guardians. But I think mid into the lane that Doorman is currently going over to fix and push would be an excellent play. Like, just keep mid pushed, then go and overload a side lane. Maybe have someone side lane on the other side as well. You can split the map here. As you said, like, you do have a split map. Look, like, the Doorman isn't even in this fight, and Lollipop Legends, they're still winning. That's 1, that's 2. Mina shows up, Cranberry shows up, and everyone is just turned into jam at the hands of our favorite vampire.
Able to do a ton of damage there. I think it's the counter spells that saved them from a 3-man death slam. Now you have this Warden showing up very late. And popping the final stand, not able to do enough damage to this team as you see Quantum Entanglement through the wall. I love that mechanic. It is hilarious to see people react to your disappearing Mina or your disappearing Ivy. Now, Lollipop Legends.
Getting quantumed, yeah.
Yep. Looking to continue to convert this further. You have the Quantum Entanglement to save Mina from the paradoxical swap. And they're not going to repeat the mistakes that happened in the last game. They're not going to fall into the same pitfalls as Moonshine because they're doing everything by the book. They're able to crack those mid-base Guardians, and they're falling back, and they're taking this mid-boss next.
Whoever's calling for Lollipop Legends is really on it. They seem to be on it as a team as well. There seems to be very much a hive mind going on here. We know what to do. We are literally like 80k souls up at this point. Like, just go mid, just end the game. I admit that they've probably stalled it out a little bit longer, but it's really common because realistically, when you know you're winning, sometimes if you try and end the game too early, you end up actually throwing the game. So you continue to accrue your advantage, you bleed them dry. It's not quite win by 1 tactics. But most of the time, when you're not, you can wait. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you're this far ahead, you can wait. You can take the safe fights. You can take the safe rolls. You need to minimize risk in the gameplay because you just show up, you do the right things, you make sure that you do them at a steady pace, at your pace. Doesn't matter how slow that is. And there's almost no way for Holding Hands and Happiness to get back into this now. So you can just end the game whenever you want, basically. I wouldn't say it's quite playing with your food as much so. It's just more taking extra precaution. Because Lollipop Legends already dropped the first game to the heavy hitters in this group. So they're really looking to make sure they get to 1-1 with this win.
Yeah, and they've been showing us pretty convincing form here. Especially with the way that they've been playing around these objectives. They did fumble a little bit with their first set of rejuves. That's a mistake I'm hoping to see accounted for coming up next, right? Because all of the walkers for Holding Hands are completely out of the picture. You've got this urn just sitting there on the right side waiting to get picked up, and you've got a lot of your items here fully online. Border with the Unstoppable fully locked in. We see a Witchmail on the way of Dog Waggler, and it's going to give you so much extra power, so much extra ability cooldown just from all the constant ticking that you're going to be facing. A little bit of a nuisance coming out from the Mirage is able to do a little bit of damage, drop that urn repeatedly, but ultimately Ash is going to be able to recover from that, no problem.
Yeah, no problem. Indeed. As the mid-boss goes in, now then, I guess the question is, how can Lollipop Legends, how do they want to slam the door shut?
Yep.
On this game? It has been definitely a one-sided one, as I thought. It's sort of very slowly taken off, and the steam train is gathering steam. For sure.
Yep, it's not the same amount of volatility that we've seen before, but it's been a constant. It's been a steady march forward, and now closing in on a 90k soul lead. Lollipop Legends can feel very confident here walking into the space, raising those Guardians, the Shrines, down in the Patron, and potentially looking for an end if they are able to complete that sequence of events fast enough. We see here the siege on the base Guardians results in all of them being taken out. Now you're just looking to your Patron for protection from the big mean bullies chasing you deep inside the base. We see Blackjack is the first one to lead that charge, able to retreat back to the safety of the rest of his team. And instead they're going to choose to take down the objectives first. The Nos Nostra from the Mina is able to do a lot of damage, silence individual targets. The Ivy gets dropped down to incredibly low HP, is able to manage to survive just a little bit longer, and the Mirage is the first one to fall, Holding Hands losing their primary source of damage as the second Shrine is taken offline.
Yeah, it was a valiant effort in the end from Holding Hands, but I actually think compared to last game, Shami, Lollipop Legends decided to put both their sort of carry players, both their high impact players, on an early game and a late game carry, and put them in the same lane, and I think it did wonders for them. It's clearly massively worked.
Yeah, you see the follow-up kills there, onto the Paradox, onto the Lash, the Abrams trying to crash down on opponents, trying to leave their base. The Singularity catches Ivy off guard, and now with 3 rejuves left, 2 members on Holding Hands. Lollipop Legends are securing their place in Scripture as they claim the Patron and bring themselves up to a 1-1 score.
Yeah, getting a win here, absolutely massive for them. Huge results. Takes them back to 1-on-1. That's probably one of the more one-sided games I imagine we'll see this tournament. That was a stomp, but really well-earned stomp as well. Fantastic work from Cranberry, Blackjack, Dove, Don, Ash, and Border. We didn't really mention the Doorman much this game, but they still had their part, and yeah, look at that Mina damage. Good lord, man.
Yeah, I don't like to be one that reads into the scoreboard a little bit too much, but I feel a little bit like that player damage can also serve as an elo graph. You see just how much impact the Mina is able to have throughout the entirety of the game, and being that far ahead, you're doing 64k and your late game insurance, your 7 is only doing 22. But when we look on the other side of the board, it's not really seeming to be too much better for your opposing team. Yeah, I think that's one of the big strengths, honestly, Jace, of Mina, is just how varied her damage sources can be. You're really getting a little bit of everything. Love Bites, Nox Nostra. The kit works so well together and really has so little downsides.
Yeah, it's important to mention that particularly with only that 22k from the 7 of Border, fair enough, it's actually not that much, especially in like a 40-minute game, right? Late 30-minute game. I think that one went 40 minutes as well, actually. Like, it's not the most in the world, right? But like all of that 22k damage is like in those late game fights. I think Border did probably 20k of it, like from like 2 storm clouds after like 25 minutes. Yeah. So it might not be the highest damage in the world, but it was important damage. And sometimes all you need is a little bit of extra sprinkled on top. When your Mina and your Mina and your Apollo are doing that much, just come in and apply the finishing touch to the dish. You don't get in there too many cooks in the kitchen. You don't have to do too much. Your job's easy. You can just farm all game, as we saw. Show up, hit a storm cloud, and it's the easiest day in the office at the world.
Yep, for sure. And you really got to thank the cohesion of your team for that. Right? You're able to play so well together. You're able to siege your objectives. You're able to continue to establish your lead, and then you have a game without roller coasters like we saw the first time. Now, with that round 2 concluded, make sure you don't go anywhere just yet, because while there are only 2 rounds, we have a rescheduled match coming up next. So make sure to stay glued to your seat as we cut to a quick 10-minute break. See you soon.